as a foster youth and former foster youth, you have to live for yourself, you know, and you have to prioritize your needs above others. And the sad thing is that carries over into adulthood. And then you work so hard competing to keep up with the general population that it's hard to give back, you know. And so my whole life, I wanted to be able to volunteer. I wanted to give back. I wanted to be a CASA. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to launch my nonprofit. And yet I had to work 2 and 3 jobs to put myself through college and put a roof over my head, and couldn't get to this point. So to be here in front of you and have this bandwidth, I'm just honored and humbled. So thank you for having me. You are doing incredible work. And one of the things you'll learn about me and my story is I emancipated from the foster care system in 2001. And that was long before all of the resources that are now available for foster youth emancipating from the foster care system, including extended foster care. And so you'll learn a little bit more and more about me as we do this. But long story short, I received no assistance from any nonprofit. I did not receive any help from transitional housing. I did not receive any gifts of sort. One time I received a birthday gift, or excuse me, a Christmas gift when I was in foster care from my social worker, and I still have the art set to this day. It has traveled with me to Brazil and back, and everything in between, and this art set symbolized that somebody cared about me. And I remember getting it. It's in a little wooden box, and I'd open it up, and it has the pastels and the pencils, and I remember thinking, like, somebody really cared about me. And so that's really the inspiration of the gift giving and what brings me here today. And I would be humbled to help you with the book club or however I can in the future. The CASA is my nonprofit of choice, because literally the only person who helped me in foster care and transitioning out was CASA. So today's presentation, again, I'm going to start with a little story about my life and what happened to me. And I'm going to then lead into a little bit of a slideshow I put together on how my CASA set me up for success and the good, important work that you're doing, because it truly was my CASA that taught me to believe in myself. And it really was the first person who believed in me and understood me and made me feel understood and important in this world. And one of the reasons why we give birthday gifts is to let them know that they matter. Let foster youth know they matter, because before you can have a compelling vision to pull you forward, before you can do the daily rituals that set you up for success, before you can find friends and healthy relationships that are going to propel you for a great future, you have to believe you're worth it. And a lot of these foster youth had childhood like mine, and you just don't believe you matter at the end of the day. Whether or not you were told directly or not, you just don't think you're worth it. And so these gifts we're giving are meant to let these youth know on their very special day that you matter in this world. You have a purpose. You're here to fulfill it. You're a gift to the world, and you deserve to be celebrated. And so that's really my mission in this world and why I'm here today. So with that, let me kind of kick off a little story here. It's about once upon a time, there was a little girl who was born to a mother who didn't love her and suffered severe abuse. She was born as a third child of 3 fathers to a woman who was a bipolar, schizophrenic, and a drug addict. Why was her mother so evil to her? Well, her father left her before she could talk, and her mother despised her for it. She was physically awkward compared to her beautiful, ever popular older sister. She also suffered a severe head injury at the age of 3 that resulted in 3 grand mal epileptic seizures by 7. She was pigeon-toed, had a speech impediment, and was in special ed by the 1st grade. She reached 6 foot before she was 12. Every day, this little girl tried to be the best version of herself and shine brightly in the midst of darkness. She was beat by her mother for getting good grades. Her mother laughed at her in her face as she scolded her. She was treated like a dog and not allowed to cry. She tried to act like a strong man and would move furniture. She couldn't even eat seconds before everybody else ate what they would eat from the table. Then she was allowed to eat their scraps, but she was grateful to have food on those days. She watched her house burn down twice before she was 10 years old, but she knew somehow she was going to be okay. And then at 11 years old, her mother tried to kill her with an ice pick handle. She left in the middle of the night and took everything she owned. Now, clearly you see that little girl was me. And time again, every chance my mother got, she told me I wouldn't be anything. That was actually my mother's slogan for me, was, what do you think you are, better than us? You're not going to be anything anyways. My mother self-medicated her mental illness and caused severe abuse and neglect in my life. And I never once remember my mother holding me in a loving embrace. I don't remember her ever saying she loved me. Instead, I remember my mom would take me up and down the hallways by my hair, beating my head against each side of the walls. I was at a beach in my head. I would try to focus on positive visions and imagery as my mother raged around me. I dodged these hurricanes of abuse by finding a quiet place in my own brain as my mother continued to beat me. Then at 11 years old, my 13-year-old sister ran away with my mother's boyfriend, and she left me all alone. And I knew that this time my mom was getting worse as the beatings grew worse. I was also on my own defense. I was always on defense and on my best behavior. I cleaned, and that was my only hope to dodge the storm. And then I let somebody cut my bangs. See, my mom was the only one who was allowed to cut my hair. So she attacked me with an ice pick handle, lashing and whipping around me. My mother had ripped my shirt off of me, and I had black in my eye, bruised me all over. Then I ran out the door screaming, "Tom's gonna get me," my mom's current boyfriend. See, that was her flavor of the month that month. She lied to my family and on her side and said I threw her down a flight of stairs. So my family disowned me. My own grandmother told me I was no longer to be part of the family and I was never to call her again. And I literally was a bastard on my birth certificate. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk was my father's name. I had no one and I was all alone in the foster care system. And since everyone would ask, how did I do it? How did I make it through to where I am now? And the answer I would give was I worked really, really hard. Now, obviously, there's more to that story than just working really, really hard, right? There is a sense of having to work really hard. I remember being 14 and really upset with life. I remember having it really sink into me that I was going to have to compete with the general population, that I somehow had to compete with these people whose daddies and mommies were buying them cars and giving them internships and paying them allowance that were then going to help them get jobs and advance their career and pay for their college. I didn't even know college existed, honestly, until my junior year when somebody said, "Aren't you going to apply for school?" Luckily, I did, because 10 days before my high school graduation, my foster mom died of a brain aneurysm. The first person who invested in me long-term, the first positive foster home I had, died. And I was left in the deepest depression you can imagine and forced into going to college for housing, or else I would have been completely homeless. So my story then goes, where I had worked 2 to 3 jobs, 60, and paid $680 a month to put myself through college. I struggled and strived through my personal relationships. I didn't know how to have healthy relationships, as you can imagine. And I had this self-sabotaging belief that it was all going to crumble around me any minute anyways. So it was a long journey to get to where I am today. But the real pivotal point for me in my life was that I had a CASA who helped me. And before I could begin to believe I deserved to go to college, before I believed I was deserved to be the first in my family to reach 16 without a child, or the first to graduate high school, let alone go to college, the first to not be dependent upon the welfare system and have 3 children, or 4 in some cases, by 4 different men, 3 different men, I had to believe that I mattered. See, I needed to know that what I felt was real, and I needed to know that what I said was believed, and I needed to be able to think critically about what was important to me, because I knew that I deserved to be able to succeed. So what was the pivotal point in going from a place where my mother told me repeatedly that I was never going to be anything in this life, that she literally refused to sign my reading log so I could get an F and figure out how it felt in this world to fail? And so my mother sabotaged me every chance I got. And then I would tell the neighbors about how she didn't feed me, or how she beat me, or how she wouldn't, did all these horrible things to me. And you know what she would do? The neighbors, as I would welcome me into their home, would then call my mom or go over there. And then, of course, my mother would come over and then beat me again. And my mother told the neighbors, or told the teachers, told everybody who I interacted with, that I was a pathological liar. She told them that everything I said was a lie. And if you've never been called a pathological liar, it undermines who you are in this world. It means that nothing you say is believable. You start questioning your own reality. Did these things happen? Did they not? Is it important? Do I matter in this world if nobody believes anything that I say anyways? And so for me, that's how my CASA helped me. I remember her name was Cindy Trubowich, and I've tried so many different ways to find her in this world. She would come and take me to little street fairs, farmers markets of sorts, and we'd walk around, and she'd look at me and ask me, how are you doing? You know, and I'd tell her, well, this happened and that happened, and the foster mom locked me in the closet or stabbed me with a fork or spit on me, or all the other things that happened in foster care. And she would go and she'd listen and tell me I didn't deserve that. And she not only listened, but she believed me and then advocated for me in court to help me get what I needed. It was incredible. It was like my secret weapon in this world. And truly, not only did she believe in me, she believed me. And I think that that is an important part for you to know as a CASA, that is not only you believe in that child and you hold your excitement for them, that they deserve to be reunified with their family, or they deserve to be happy or successful, but just the fact that you listen to them and believe them and the words that are coming out of their mouth, allow them to know that they matter in this world. And that's truly was the pivotal point for me. When my CASA believed in me and she advocated for me, it made me feel understood in a time when I never felt understood. In a time where I never understood myself at times, a time when I didn't think I deserved to be understood, my CASA was the one who did believe in me. So I want to kind of transition to some slides I prepared. I'm a little bit of an overachiever, as you might be able to tell here. And so again, how did I do it? This was something that I was asked, you know, even when I first went to college, they put me on the cover of their little magazine and did a centerfold story on me. And they're talking about how they help first generation students. And the question was, how did you do it? And the answer was, I worked really, really hard, but I did more than that. And that's what my book, Grit and Gratitude, is about. It really is about having a daily practice to commit myself to success and take the necessary steps required for that. So before I jump into this, I want to kind of give some context that you may or may not be aware of about adverse childhood experiences. Just let me, if you can, just show me a show of hands. How many people have heard of the term adverse childhood experiences? Can you just raise your hand if you have heard of adverse childhood experiences? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6, 7, maybe 8 out of 30 here. So thank you for that. That helps give me some context. Nadine Burke, our Surgeon General, put together some research after working in poverty, and she realized that there's such thing called an adverse childhood experience. And an adverse childhood experience is characterized by essentially anything that would qualify you for foster care. If you went into foster care, you have an adverse childhood experience. But it also could be if your parents were separated, you know, if you were abused in different ways, et cetera, et cetera. So you can research that if you want, adverse childhood experience. There's a little test, you could take it online. It's a 10 series question. And if you have even one, you're this % more likely to have a heart attack, depression, suicide, all of these things. If you have 3, you jump up to about 68% more likely to die of cardiac arrest, depression, or suicide. And it really connected the mind-body experience to abuse. And it talked about how our brains are actually rewired by trauma. So what I like about that is it's science-based, right? Some of you here are going to be more analytical and need the facts and the data and the science. And some of you are going to make more of an emotional decision and just go with your gut, so to speak. Regardless of which one you are, there's real science that shows that if you are a product of abuse, then you actually have a shift in how your brain processes. Your actual physical health is altered because of it. And so I didn't know of this at the time. I had essentially never started counseling until I was 27. At that point, I started some counseling, and off and on, I worked with her remotely. And it took a couple of years off and came back. And then at that point, when I hadn't talked to her for a few years, she had been introduced to an ACE score. And she said, Crystal, let me have you take this test real quick. And when I came back, I remember the next session, usually we laughed more than we cried. You know, it was a great experience. She got real serious with me. And she said, Crystal, I had no idea this was the case when we started working together. And I said, what? You know, like, what's going on, right? And she said, you have a 10 out of 10 ACE score. According to the science and the research, you should be dead or living under a bridge somewhere. She said, I deal with anxiety a lot. You know, now I'm doing well because I practice grit and gratitude on a daily basis. But without that, and I was looking to her for help, she said, if you don't fight for your life like you're training for the Olympics, you will die. And she was not being dramatic, and she was not being facetious. She was dead serious. And that's really my work with her, is the basis of this book and what she taught me about myself and figuring out what worked and what didn't. So again, I just wanted to kind of press pause on that and really put that context to it, because a lot of the people work with these children from abuse. You think, oh, you just gotta, you know, think positive. You just gotta, you know, be grateful. But there's real science between how gratitude actually does help you break through it. But you actually have to do more than that. Right. And so that's some of the things I'm going to talk about today, is after working with my counselor and figuring out how I did it, because there were specific things in addition to working hard, there were specific things that I had to do on a daily basis to optimize my mind and body. And there were specific ways that my CASA helped me do that. So let me see on time here. How am I doing? How much time do I have for this, Tim? Oh, you're muted.
Get over there and do that.
There you are.
You have an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, more than enough. So
yeah.
Let's say about 15, 20 minutes on this, and then we'll open it up to questions and such as well, and more of a discussion. And a little bit of this, I'm going to turn to you. So don't be surprised when I put a question back to you and open this up to the group. So I would love for this to be interactive. Now, coming into this, I want to share an interesting fact here. 8%. Studies show that only 8% of people accomplish a goal. And now this study specifically has to do with a New Year's resolution. Within 30 days, 25% of people actually showed commitment to that resolution. So on day one, New Year's Eve, everybody was 100% committed to making this change in their life. And by January 25th, or January 30th, only 25 people in 100 even still cared about it, right? And in the end of that year, only about 8% of those people, 8 in 100 people, reach that goal. And that's people who have not been a subject to abuse. This is the general population. So when you layer on these extra issues that abuse happens, and then the way it triggers the brain, you can realize this uphill battle that foster youth are facing when you're taking them from home to home, when they have to change schools, when their parents are telling them they're worthless, when their brain has been hardwired because of trauma, and you're in the midst of foster care and the changes that go with that. You can see why, even when you say to them, hey, what's important to you? And they say, these things are important to me, and they don't take actions. You can see why they don't take action. The general person wouldn't take action. So what can we do to begin to optimize their life? That's the question here at hand. So what do you think? And this is where I want to open it up to the group. How do you think my CASA helped me be able to stay committed to my life and move through this? Anybody? How do you think you have helped your youth as a CASA? How do CASAs help their youth?
I think they help in all sorts of ways, from just knowing that there's someone there to talk to, from helping them, things happen in court so that their best interests are looked out for, even to helping them get to college.
Yeah, absolutely. It's listening, like you said, planning and advocating. Oh, please, who else was going to chime in?
I think it's the consistency of being, that you're always around.
Yes, that consistency was absolutely key. She was the first consistent person in my life. Absolutely. Lots of encouragement, Stephanie says. I see that. Absolutely. Consistency, encouragement, listening, advocating. These are specific things that you can do. And what you said, I'm going to tap on that consistency piece here just a little bit more. As you can see, I like brain science and studies and books and such, because if I say something, that's one thing, but if I can back it up with some facts, that's a whole nother, right? But Jim Rohn, I love Jim Rohn, okay? He gave some interesting facts here that people become like the 5 people you spend your most time with. And again, this is true for the general population and for foster youth. So know your dogs don't count, you know, 1. 2, right? Are you happy with those 5 people you spend your most time with? And 3, are you intentional about who you're spending your time with? A lot of these foster youth are surrounded by negativity, whether or not it's drug addiction, abuse, and neglect in their broken family system, whether or not it's the competitive nature of other foster kids just hating and bullying you, you know, whether or not it's the bullying that goes on at school or on social media, whether or not it's their sibling rivalry, whether or not it's their foster parent who's in it for the wrong reasons or right reasons. Very few foster youth have these 5 people intact, right, that are positive. And so by you showing up in that foster youth's life, you get already locked down 20% win for that child. So through that consistency, you're actually helping that person be more like you. And as much as it's not about making them like you, it's helping them be themselves and support and encourage. By the nature of being consistent in somebody's life, you are actually investing them to be more like you in the future. And that is the positive side of you. You're going to make them feel uplifted and loved and confident, right? Whereas if without you, they're probably surrounded by people who are low energy, frustrated, insecure, and scared, right? So just being consistent, that was the number one thing. My CASA didn't have to do anything. She didn't have to say anything. She didn't have to even advocate for me in court. Just the fact she showed up again and again and again and again and again, even when I wasn't the nicest, you know, even when I was in a funk, you know, she still showed up again and again and again and gave me that smile. So again, I can't emphasize enough, just that consistency is helping that foster youth's life. The other thing is she listened to me, right? What do you want? What is happening in your life? What do you need? I remember these are some of the things she would ask me. And they were big, lofty questions for a 12-year-old. You know, I was like, you actually want to know what I need? Well, what I need is, you know, and it has nothing to do with what I actually need. It's what I wanted, right? So but just be aware, just listening though, and asking those questions, again, helped me as a person feel that she believed in me and that I mattered in this world enough for somebody to listen to. And at that point in my life, nobody had listened to me. You know, I remember a couple of my mom's boyfriends along the way. They weren't all bad, you know, 99% perhaps, but occasionally 1 or 2 of them would ask me, how are you doing? And I remember being shocked, like, you're asking me how I'm doing, right? So just, it was a random thing for a child of abuse to be asked how they were doing, what's happening in your life, what do you need, what do you want? So just asking those questions, let them increases their self-esteem, give them a belief in this world that they matter. And then the other thing was she would ask me about my physical needs. Is your home clean? You know, do you have enough to eat? How is your foster parent treating you? Especially when I told her I got locked in the closet and I didn't get dinner and I got stabbed with a fork because I reached over somebody's plate and I got spit on by a foster parent. So needless to say, she was very concerned over, are you feeling energized by your environment? Right? Do you like the people you live with? As foster youth, I had to share rooms with people and they had family night, and consistently on family night, everybody had a family member come and take them out. You know, I was literally the only one left who didn't have a family member, and nobody not once on family night came to take me out. And so it was really heartbreaking every Wednesday when family night came around. I didn't have that. Well, this other foster youth was a bully and she just knew that was a soft spot. And so she picked on me every day of my life and just made me feel so terrible about myself because I was disowned by my family. Now, she's probably a nice person now, giving back somewhere else in this world, dealing with her own problems. But, you know, kids are mean, right? So maybe it's not the foster parent, but maybe it's the other people I'm sharing a room with. You know, my CASA could advocate at least that I get my room switched, or that I'm switched to another foster home where they don't spit on me and call me names, you know, etc. She also wanted to know, where am I spending my time? You know, how am I doing in school? You know, what's important to you in your life, you know, and dreaming beyond the immediate. That was the other thing that really helped me with my CASA is at that point, I hadn't really dreamed beyond dinner, right? I didn't understand that doing well in school was going to help me in the future. I didn't even understand there was such thing as college. I didn't understand that my relationships would determine who I was going to be like. I didn't understand I get a career. I didn't understand I have a choice. I didn't understand that one day I was going to have to balance my financial books and make sure that I could keep a beautiful home. You know, I didn't understand I need to water plants. I didn't understand anything. I didn't understand it, right? That's where we all start. And so asking things about what was important to me and how things, where I spend my time, got me thinking about the future. And even though that wasn't her goal, she didn't have to be a mentor. She didn't have to do all of that. She still did spend time asking me couple questions here and there. And that at least got me thinking about the future. And then she asked me questions like, who are you hanging out with? You know, right? Now, she probably was going to advocate whether or not I should be hanging out with them or not. Because again, some of these people are not good influences. You know, if all your friends are out smoking pot, you're probably going to feel persuaded to be out smoking pot. Or if they're out skipping school, you know, then you're probably going to want to be out skipping school, right? So making sure they're hanging out with the right people. But again, just the thought of not judging me and telling me what I should do. I had enough people telling me what I should do with my life, but just helping me understand that, are they increasing or decreasing success? You know, just offering that as a thought. No judgment. I'm not here to tell you what you need to do, but are they actually helping you in your life? Are they increasing your success? If you know you're going to be like the 5 people you spend your most time with, right? You could tell a foster youth that. Are they actually helping you or hurting you? So these were just things that how my CASA optimized my life. And at this point, please jump in with questions as we go through. So out of all of this, I want to, again, turn it back to you. What's most important for my CASA to do? I see something pop up over here. Be there. Regina says be there. Yes.
Accept you as you are.
What was it?
Accept you as you are.
Accept you as you are. Support your child's feelings. That, again, I cannot emphasize enough. I had enough people telling me who I needed to be in this world, enough people telling me what I could and couldn't do, enough people telling me all the rules of the foster care system and how I can't stay over at my friend's house because, you know, all I cared about was somebody listening without judgment, showed up and showed that someone cared about me, supporting my feelings, listened, accepted me as who I am. Absolutely, that's wonderful. And as you'll see here, that again, in addition, through that process of being there and supporting their feelings and listening without judgment, I want to show you the beneficial byproduct of doing exactly that without trying. This actually shows, and this is again based on another book, Willpower Doesn't Work is called the book, right? Benjamin Bradley, I believe. And so the idea is by listening and accepting me who I was, by being consistent, by being there and listening about my feelings, I was able to break through what I thought I had to force myself to do. I had to break through, relax without feeling I had to motivate and push and improve and put on this front for somebody. I didn't have to concentrate and focus. I simply could dream. I simply could just be me, be accepted, and think about the future. And so this is really one of the clear things that I want you to know that you're doing, whether you know it or not. And asking somebody how they're doing in their life and what's going on in their physical environment and what they need in their life and what they want and where they want to be and if they want to go home or if they don't want to go home and how's their foster parents treating them and who are they hanging out with. Those questions are forcing them to get clear on their vision, whether you know it or not. Right? My CASA was the first one to listen to me and know that I mattered, invest in my life, but she also was the first to help me think beyond dinner, right? I was always hungry as a child. I'm probably still always hungry. I'm a snacker. But regardless, I was always thinking about dinner, but that was all I could think about was I couldn't think about tomorrow. I couldn't think about next month. I didn't have any control in my life. I didn't know where I was going to be. So how dare I even think about that? I had no control. But instead, through those questions, my CASA planted the seeds that I am going to be around in the future. What would I like? you know, and it's kind of like for that, especially for these melodramatic teenage girls, right? My husband and I are in the process of becoming a foster parent, hopefully June 15th when the courts open up. So we're very excited. But so give me my melodramatic teenage girl. Okay. I love it. Right. I was one. So especially this melodramatic teenage girl I can speak to, you know, it's like, how dare you want me to think about life as an adult? I'm dealing with bullying or the fact that they're making fun of me because it's family night. I mean, these are my immediate concerns and they're very real. You know, I got my feelings hurt. I feel enraged over this. My own mother left. I haven't seen her in years. Is she ever going to come back? My sister has all these things. I don't have, I mean, that's where my mind is stuck on this what is it, the gopher or the hamster wheel, right? I'm on this hamster wheel of all the problems in my immediate life, but as a constant asking me who I want to be in my life, that is where I was able to start dreaming about what does my ideal environment look like? How are my relationships going? What's important to me? Do I want to be, what do you want to have around you to bring you joy? That would be a question that would be so left field, I'd almost laugh at you, right? If you would ask me, what do you want to have around you to bring you joy? But I guarantee you, if you would ask me as a child, I'd probably laugh at you, especially as a teenager. And then I'd go home and I guarantee you, I'd be sitting in my bunk bed thinking, what could I put in this room to bring me joy? Just a simple question. I wonder. I bet I could get a plant, you know? Or you know what, that rock that my mom's boyfriend, who was actually nice to me, gave me, I kept that rock, you know, or whatever it is, right? But you can start thinking about, what do I have control over? And that's what my CASA gave me, was the ability to think forward, and the ability to believe in myself, and the ability to recognize what I had control over. Things that were not anywhere near me. I felt completely helpless. I felt like the victim. I felt angry at the world, and I felt caught up in my immediate drama. And those were the ways she was able to help me. And then professionally, you know, how do I want to dress for a career is a little outrageous, right? But what do I want for a career? You know, the thought of a career, I thought I was going to end up waitressing like my mom, or being on welfare like the rest of my family. You know, I didn't even understand career. Like, you know, I was in this training once. I was an education and employment specialist in Oakland for foster youth. And I went to a training on how to be a better education and employment specialist. And the trainer said, raise of hands, show me who remembers their parents going to work. And pretty much everybody raised their hands. And I was one of two people who did not raise my hand. And so I don't remember, my mom was on welfare, right? Occasionally she'd have a waitressing job or something, but it wasn't, I mean, it was like under the table, you know, she didn't go to work. So anyways, I was the only person of two who didn't remember my parents going to work. And he said, now can you see why there's a breakdown when you're talking to your youth about how to build a career? You assume they understand the long-term impacts of going to work. You assume they understand that fast food McDonald's job will lead them to an office job that will get them health benefits, that will help them be able to provide for their family. They don't understand that because they didn't experience it, right? So just laying that groundwork and understanding they have no idea of a career. They never saw their parents go to work, perhaps, you know, but getting them thinking about the fact they do get to choose where they work, and that work does give them money, and it will build a routine, and you do get self-confidence out of it, and you have to have a certain wardrobe for it. And if you could decide, and if you were going to have a career, what type of career would you want to have? Those questions are really powerful. Again, this is more in the mentor sphere of things, not in the advocating, but I think would also be really helpful to that. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate you. Miss Longoria, always a pleasure. Such a gentleman person. All right. So over here, one of the other things is about the physical environment. Now, you as a CASA have a lot of power over their physical environment, at least advocating for their physical environment, right? That's a big part of what you're advocating for. Should they stay in this home? Should they be reunited? Should they move to a new home? Is this foster parent doing them wrong for whatever reason? Again, spitting on them, locking them in the closet, stabbing them with a fork. You know, is there some type of, you know, are they sexual abuse from another foster child if it's co-ed? You know, there's like all kinds of stuff, drama of life that's going on in this foster kid's life, and your role is to advocate for them. And the thing that the tangible, check the box, life-changing thing is their physical environment. So with that, I wanted to just connect the dots that yes, our physical bodies are connected to our environment, right? So our behavior determines our environment. right? Our environment determines our behavior. So the fact that, you know, I wake up and I put my shoes by the door means I'm more likely to get up and go for a walk in the morning. Just a simple example of that. If I, you know that I like to meditate, for example, which I do as part of my grit and gratitude, I was laying down to meditate right before this call, then I am going to optimize my space to limit the amount of noise and no TV in the bedroom, for example. This is just examples. Just understand that their behaviors determine their environment, environment determines their behavior. So just see that connection. Communication, our environment surrounds us with people and things that communicate. So these would be key terms. You're trying to ask somebody about their physical environment. You could say, like, what are your daily habits? You know, what are things that you're doing that help you be successful? And what are things that you're doing that are not helping you be successful? Or things people are doing around you that are interfering with your life. What are things people doing around you, their behaviors that you wish would stop? That would be a key question I would ask. You know, what about your communication? Are you having positive communication with those that are around you? You know, or are they being mean to you? You know, like, what type of conversations are you having with your foster mom? You know, things like that are going to keep that conversation. These are specific touch points. Also know that we suffer when we're not exposed to success and what it looks like. So just know, plant the seed for a foster youth that there is a life bigger than what they've experienced, that it is possible to be happy, that it is possible to have healthy relationships, that it is possible to have a clean environment and live without bugs. You know, I can't tell you how many times I had roaches as a child. You know, I tell them that it's okay to be happy, that it's healthy to have a positive interaction with your foster mom. I mean, they may not even believe that's possible, right? I couldn't believe that was possible for a lot of reasons myself. And then informs motivation. So if another thing, if they're really struggling with their environment, but you're not advocating for them to be removed from that environment for whatever reason, you know, maybe you can work on ways to help them cut down on clutter, you know, or to take out the garbage more, or to clean, you know, to streamline their environment. These would be conversations you can have. Again, it's not advocating for them in court, but you wind up in this messiness of conversation of what's going on in their life. This would be a tangible way that you can help them if you're not wanting them to leave that location, but improve the environment they're living in. So again, I'm just going to wrap this up and land the plane. You know, again, this has allowed me to really set myself up, you know, for success. And it's still a journey. I have a phenomenal husband. We're coming up on our 4-year anniversary. We're very excited. And he is kind and gentle and loving and supportive. And I've never had somebody fight for me in my corner like he does. You know, it brings tears to my eyes to think about it. I recently, you know, had a near-death experience in 2017 where I had an eruption in my intestines and lost 2/3 of my blood. I had over 21 IV attempts. I had no blood pressure, no pulse. I was unconscious, but I remember what was going on, and they hung me up by my ankles to try to get these IVs going and my blood flowing. And I almost died. I had 8 blood transfusions and 5 days in the hospital. Up until that point in my life, I'm now not afraid to say it, I'm 37 years old. At that point in my life, I was 33. I had been told by my father's side of the family, I later got reunified with, that I just need to stop telling my story. I need to, quote, stop wearing my foster care like a badge of honor. And I was told to shut up, quite honestly, by my grandmother, may she rest in peace, that my story offends people, it makes them uncomfortable, and I need to stop telling it. And so I listened to her, and I quit telling my story. I quit talking about foster care. I was afraid of being judged. I had a former boss tell me he thought I would steal from him. When he told me later, after he befriended me, that he thought I would steal from him when I shared I was a former foster youth. So I had been judged and persecuted. I was dating somebody, and in the middle of the night, he kicked me out of his house when he found out that my parents did drugs. So there was enough stuff going on in my life that I just quit telling my story. And when I almost died, I woke up, and the thing that was on my heart was that I had a story unsung. And I had to tell my story, and I had to be able to tell how I did it. And that is my purpose in this life. So that really brought me to here, that allowed, at that point I had already went to college and got 2 double bachelor's degrees. You can see back here, my bachelor's in sociology and political science. And then I did a master's in public administration. I got a graduate certificate in human resources. I went on to get an MBA. I started a PhD in public affairs, did not complete it. And then I went ahead and I launched my own business. For the last 6-7 years, I had a social media firm. And then I went ahead and I moved to Brazil, Rio de Janeiro for 9 months, because that's what you do, when you start your own business. And then from there, I came back and I launched my nonprofit and I wrote a book, and life is just awesome. And I got married and I lived this incredible life. And I just moved into this beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in this quaint little neighborhood with big overgrown trees and birds. And there's a lizard that's sunbathing, 2 of them as I speak. It's an incredible life where I wake up every day and I practice gratitude. And so how was I able to get from there to here? A big part of that, is God. A big part of that is my husband. A big part of that is my belief in myself that came from that relationship with my CASA, who was the first person who believed in me, who was consistent, who understood me, and who did not think I was a pathological liar. And so I thank Ms. Morgan Mueller. She has been a key element in getting me here. She says, "You're literally amazing. I'm so glad to know you." She's such a joy. And this is now my time to give back. I'm going to stop living for myself and live for something bigger than me. And so Morgan has been my counterpart that has helped me launch the fostered. We originally wanted to do transitional housing for transition age foster youth who are exiting the foster care system. So if you have any inroads on that in Victoria, please let me know. I'm very interested in helping people exiting the foster care system. 1 in 5 exit into homelessness. Over 2/3 of the women are going to be dependent upon the welfare system and have their first child before the age of 19. And then about 68% of the men coming out of the foster care system will be in the criminal justice system. So these are statistics that we need to break, and I'm committed to that. So the starting point where we're at now is we're giving gifts. One day we do hope to transition this into a transitional housing program for transitional age youth. But why we're doing it is because we want youth to know they matter, which brings us to, again, my foster youth. Stay tuned. I don't know who she is yet, but she's alive somewhere. I pray over her every day that she just knows that we are coming and she is going to have a beautiful home, and I'm going to listen to her and put up with her little drama, whatever it is, and just let her know that she matters. And I can't wait to meet the CASA that gets that foster youth and to work with. And of course, my book just came out. So gratitude.com is where you would go. It has a little bit of my story and what the book's about, talking about adverse childhood experiences. The whole premise of this, you can read the introduction on Amazon, and it's all about you matter. And I remember writing, as you read that portion of You Matter, I just remember sobbing, slamming my keys on the keyboard. It must have looked like gibberish, but I was just bawling as I wrote this and telling these foster youth that, because the point in the introduction is, why should you trust me when everybody else has let you down? When everybody else says they'll help you and then they leave your life, why should you trust me and you haven't even met me? Why do you believe that I care about you when I haven't met you? Why would you read this book? Why would you trust me? And the answer is because you matter, and I'm committed to helping you. And I want to see you be successful. So I love to be able to be that light. That is what I want to be. And I am just so grateful to be here, to be alive. It's been quite a journey. There's so much more to a story, as you can only imagine, but that is me in a nutshell, and who I am and what I'm committed to do and how my CASA has been able to help. So in a nutshell, if you want to help your foster youth, this is a little bit about what my book talks about. Create a compelling vision for their life by asking them who they want to be and what's important to them and where they want to go. Help them create daily habits and rituals that are in line with with that long-term vision, even if it's one thing that they do differently, like give up soda, you'll lose 15 pounds, Make a decision for a higher good, right? Again, the idea is keep coming back to that compelling vision. If you have that compelling vision, it will pull you forward, and cultivate gratitude on a daily basis. Be grateful to be alive, and trust you're right where you need to be. So this is a lot of what my book talks about, is again, taking the time to optimize your mind and your body so you can show up fully in this world, and how to have daily rituals to set you up for success. And how to believe you matter, and fight for your life like you're training for the Olympics. Because I hate to be dramatic, but I'm serious. You will die if you do not, you'll die an early death if you're a product of trauma and you do not take time every day to optimize your mind and body. So I feel that this is a life-changing mission to help people be successful and really complement the success that you're doing as CASAs and helping these youth. So with that, I'm thrilled to be here. Sandy says, thanks for sharing your life with us. Thank you so much, Sandy. I have to almost write about myself in the third person because sometimes it's a little hard to still talk about. But that's me in a nutshell, and I'd like to open it up to questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for those gifts of encouragement and direction with working with our CASA kids. Hope and promoting a future is just so important, and you live that and you've shared it. I think it's, do we have questions? If you do, unmute and let's take that time.
So Crystal, where did you grow up?
Thank you. I was actually born, so this is part of the reason why I didn't get any nonprofit support other than CASA. I was born in Portland, Oregon. And then my house burnt down at the age of 3. And so then that's when I moved to Humboldt County, California, which is northern. People say San Francisco's northern. That's actually in the middle if you fold the state. So northern California. And then that's where I went to grade school and such. And then after, when they found my father, when I was about 13 years old, I moved back up to Portland to reunify. Look at little baby, look at him, so cute.
Hey, Archer.
I moved back up to Portland to reunify with my father, who was a recovering drug addict who had not started recovering yet. And then through that process, I then was there from 13, almost 14, to 18. And then I went to San Francisco Bay Area for college. Nice specifics.
Oh, great.
We had a question in the chat. Is your CASA still active, or do you still keep in touch with your CASA?
You know, I have no idea what happened to her. Cindy Trubowich, if you can find her, I would love to have like a Maury Povich moment where we like reunify and I'll just like sob on her shoulder. But I have no idea where she is. I cannot find her. So Cindy Trubowich, blessings to her.
We'll get the spelling of the name and I'll be glad to investigate.
Yeah, Trubowich, like it sounds the best I know. Trubowitch, Trubowich, maybe no T. Cindy Trubowich.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a phenomenal woman. And she was like this tall, you know, like I was 6 foot. I'm still 6 foot. I haven't grown an inch since I was 12, but I was 6 foot at 12. And she must have been like 4'11". I mean, she was just this little woman. And so I remember we had this photo somebody took of us at a street fair one day when we were walking. And I'm so funny. I used to wear these men button-down shirts. That was my style, you know, and bands, right? Because I was so cool. But yeah, so I have my little button-down striped shirt on that I got at Goodwill, and she's standing beside me, just like, you know, and I'm just serious. So yeah,
Crystal, that sounds like our Joy Walker.
Uh-oh, don't be doing that to me.
Oh my goodness. Well, again, and the thing is, these foster youth don't even understand the impact you're having in their life yet. You know, it wasn't until that I started getting some success under my belt and was asked how I did it that I had to think and think critically about it. And then again, it took me years to figure out grit and gratitude because I just did it implicitly, you know, walking every day, journaling, meditating, spending time in nature, things like that. I call them biohacks in my book. But I was doing this and I didn't even realize it was a thing. Similarly, my CASA was helping me and I didn't even realize it was a thing. And at times I wasn't even the most grateful. I probably wasn't the nicest either. And she just welcomed me into her life and just loved me unconditionally. And it wasn't until much later that I realized that how much she helped me and how much I crave her in my life to this day and would love to celebrate her. But it's almost quote unquote too late. I can't find her. So
Crystal,
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, Christy just sent me an image. Can you get the baby? And it said there's a Cindy Truwich. She was an advocate from 94 to 96, and she went to Ashford University and California, Berkeley.
Wow, that sounds promising.
The link.
Send me the link. I'm so excited. I'd love to be I want my Maury Povich moment. We don't have to be on Maury. I just want the moment. My goodness. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Shannon. Thank you. She says, you're truly a miracle. Thank you for telling your story. Book ordered. Oh, thank you so much. And Kathy says, Crystal, thank you for sharing your powerful story. Thank you so much for your comment. Thank you. And Reynolds is here. Look at you. Hello, hello. Where are you? I don't see you on the screen. There you are. Hello, Reynolds. Pleasure. He says, amazing story. And how could I ask a question of someone who has been so successful after overcoming such obstacles? I feel so lazy to have so many opportunities and not done more. Oh, Reynolds, he's a special man right there. We did a video together, actually. That's an incredible man. Thank you for that.
Cool.
Oh, Andrea says, thank you for sharing. Really enjoyed. Rebecca, let's see. Oh gosh, you're brave. Thank you for joining us and give insight into your life and how we can help our CASA kids. Flora, yes, I'm finding my CASA. I'm gonna find her. Oh, thank you so much. This is so beautiful, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? This is great. You have been paying it forward, Crystal. Thank you. Thank you for that.
This is my first time to do this, so I don't know if y'all hear me or not. I guess you do.
We can hear you.
I was wondering if she has continued or has any contact with siblings and how they might be doing.
Yeah, so it's often a saga, you know, for a foster youth to be reunited with siblings. So my mother had 3 children by 3 different men. I was the youngest of 3. And then my father, when I was 14, had a child by another woman. And so my oldest sister, Brandy, left when I was 6. My mother and her would fist fight. I mean, it felt like to the death, you know. And so it was not healthy. She was 12 years older than me and raised me essentially. And that's, I believe, how I survived as a child to a mother who didn't love me. She changed my diapers. She was essentially my mother as a child. She left when I was 6. And she was 18. My mom actually drove her across the state line with her stuff in the trunk and told her she was going on a job interview and then dropped her off at her dad's house. And I've never seen her again. So we are friends on Facebook, but it's not a sister thing. I don't know. It's weird you can't really reconnect after not having her there. And then my older sister, Shannon, is 2.5 years older than me. She was always pretty and popular. Now she has 4 kids by 4 different men, and is on a journey right now. So I believe she is homeless as we speak. So it's hard to stay connected. A long time ago, I told her I'll never give her money. Actually, this is funny. When I was a child, this is true. When I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, my sister Shannon would be so mean to me. She'd beat me up. She told people I was her second cousin once removed. She didn't claim me. She did everything she could to humiliate me, okay? She was just horrible to me. And I was so, you know, I was that annoying little sister who tagged along. And I would yell at her. I say, you know what, Shannon? One day I'm going to be rich. And the only thing I'm ever going to buy you is an education. I must have said that 100 times before I was 10 years old. So anyway, so long story short, life goes on and she starts asking me for money as an adult. And I told her, I said, the only thing I'll ever buy you is an education. Where do you want to go to school? So she flunked the 7th grade and dropped out in the 8th grade. So she has a 6th grade education and no desire to get a GED. So, and is currently homeless and possibly recovering. So it's hard. I try to limit my exposure because it's hard. You know, I love her, but it's hard. I don't dare tiptoe into that. And then when I was 14, my little sister, my father had a child who he didn't claim for a while, and then he did. That's a whole nother story. But she is a remarkable young woman. I also went in and out of the foster care system before 7. I just remember bunk beds in a shelter. I don't remember too much of it. But she went in and out a little bit when she was younger before my dad stepped in and took her at, I think she was 8, and then he raised her until she was 18. But she's doing good, and she's a massage therapist in Portland, Oregon, and I just had a kid, and she's on her journey. So I would say I'm closest with her. I'm kind of like the cool aunt, you know? So that's kind of a cool sibling connection. But yeah, it's weird. It is really weird being a foster kid and having siblings and not having a sibling connection to them.
Yeah. I know that we often work to make sure that we have sibling visits, try to put those together. And I imagine that's very vital.
Yeah, as I mentioned in my story, my sister ran off with my mom's boyfriend, which is what it is. And you can imagine what happens in that story. So that all happened. And I didn't see her for several years. And then when I moved up to Portland, she had ran away to Portland. And so I got to see her. And interestingly enough, I was always shorter than her. And the first time I saw her, I ran up to her to give her a hug, and I was taller than her. I just want to say. So that was a big point in my life. And she quit beating me up. So
my question to you, Crystal, is do you plan to have children of your own?
That's a really good question. To be totally transparent, I'm learning to talk more and more about it. But my eruption that I had was an ectopic pregnancy. And so that nearly killed me. It was almost 4 months and it was undiagnosed. They sent me home with ultrasound and hope and picking the name and, all that stuff. And it really crushed me. But through that, my husband and I have been closer. There's actually a little beauty in that story because I learned how to trust. In my life, when the stuff gets hard, people get to walking, and here I was, I had to literally learn to walk again. And my husband had to come home to potty me. I couldn't get out of bed to go to the bathroom, and so he'd come home on his lunch break. And after taking several weeks off of work, and he'd take me to the bathroom, so I could go to the bathroom, couldn't even shower by myself. I mean, we joke there's no secrets in our relationship. But we became closer than ever. But he wants to be a father more than anything. So right now we're starting with our own, with a foster child, which has been my life goal since I can remember. And who knows, keep us in your prayers. Maybe we'll be blessed with our own child. I'm not counting me out. So we're open to it. Before him, I will add, I never wanted children. And I was a big advocate of the fact I never wanted to have children. But I'd get so mad when somebody say, well, you find the right man. I'm like, that's the most disrespectful thing you could tell somebody who doesn't want kids. But it's the truth, for my scenario, at least. When I met the right man and watching how good of a man he is, there's nothing I'd rather do than help him be a father. So, and when I heal my own demons, which I have through a lot of hard work, I would like to be a mom. So we'll see. Keep me in your prayers, please.
Yes.
Crystal, I had a question.
Please.
Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. Your talk was just amazing, but I was just wondering if you'd had any feedback from foster kids or CASA kids that have read your book and how they responded. Yeah,
it literally just came out. This is like so new. My birthday was in March. So for my birthday present, I wanted to publish my book. And then COVID happened, right? And if it's not about COVID, it's not getting in the news. So I have a nice press release about it and such, but I halted all my advertising. I'm the digital marketing lead with the Advocate and the real estate marketing person there. So I'm using them for all my marketing, you can imagine. So I have a nice marketing plan laid out, but all of that had been put on halt. And then this is foster care month, right? So I was waiting for foster care month, and then I moved, like I said. So, life is kind of messy as it is. But I'm literally this afternoon mapping out my official release of, I had a little soft launch, a little LinkedIn leak. My editor put something up and I've gotten some book sales off of that and some words of encouragement. My neighbor adopted a foster kid and she started reading the book and she said she really has been enjoying it. And it really has made an impact for what she's been reading. But we're just on the beginning point of this journey. So it really is about getting that out there to as many people. I want to help 100,000. I think I could reach 1 million, but for me, I need to believe in my core. So I want to get on Oprah one day. Sure, we'll get to 1 million. But in the meantime, 100,000, I believe, is realistic. And that's why one of the things I want to do, Tim, is for my husband just talked to me about this morning, for the youth who are over 13, I want to include a copy of that book in their gifts and let them know that they matter. And because that's, again, the whole, even if you just read the introduction, it's you matter and you matter and you matter and you matter in this world, and you need to fight to be alive, and you matter and you have a purpose and live and shine fully. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do. So we're just on the beginning point. Absolutely. If you could think of any other creative ways to get it out there, stay tuned. One of the questions we got over here was, oh, I see LinkedIn, Cindy Trubelich. Oh, I'm so excited. Sandy said, is your book sold only in ebooks? No, you can absolutely. My mama, by the way, I got an awesome mother-in-law. That is no joke. I mean, I got spoiled. My first mother didn't love me, but my mama-in-law spoils me rotten. I love my mama. So anyways, my mama got my book, and she got it in a paper copy, and they shipped it midst COVID. So you can get a paper copy.
I just found it on Books A Million, and I just posted that in there. So it has been ordered, and I can't wait to read it.
Awesome, please. And any reviews you can leave on Amazon really would make the world to me in helping that. So please do leave that. And just some context of how the book's laid out. I did not want to write a story about my life. I don't know if anybody's read A Child Called It. Dave Presler. I could not read that until post-college. And it really hurt me. You know, it's like the closest rendition to my childhood that I had experienced, and it was very visceral. So I decided I did not, Dave Pesler, more power to him, but I did not want to write that book. So instead I wanted it to be a how-to book. So the way I wrote it is each chapter is a different biohack. And it starts out with a little 250-word vignette about something crazy that happened to me in my life. And then from there, I start applying the biohack to that vignette and how I overcame it. And I integrate some actual brain science behind it and why that's true. Again, it's not just my opinion. There's actual science behind this stuff. And then I do my call to action and help you understand how you can use it in your life. And I have 10 biohacks. So there's 11 chapters, an introduction, and 10 biohacks.
Right.
But yes, thank you so much. So I really, really appreciate that. It is available in ebook and in print. Books A Million, thank you so much. Can't wait to read it. Thanks, Sandy. You're so awesome. And then Reynolds says, we'll see you on Oprah. I know this is true. It's on Amazon. That's for sure, Reynolds. I'm so excited. Seriously, I believe in the power of visualization in my life and prayer for that matter. But I believe that when you can see it and feel it and smell it and taste it before it happens, it is more likely to happen in your life. And so I literally see myself on Oprah on a daily basis. So thank you for that. It will come. Oprah, I'm coming for you. And then let's see. Regina says, we will share your book link on the Facebook page as well. I appreciate that. Also, stay tuned. Maybe I'll tag you with this, maybe the concept you want. I'm having 3 sponsored Facebook posts through the Victoria Advocate too, where they're going to promote it and do that. So we can tag CASA if you want for that to reshare it to that page. And I would love to autograph yours, Reynolds, and anybody else. Once COVID's over, we'll have a book signing. Maybe we're at 101 Goodwin Plaza as well. So we got the top floor suite for Victoria Advocate. So I'm the digital marketing lead there. So I have that point, the point of the building. That's my office on the 12th floor. It's the best space in the whole 12th floor. So I might even have to see if I can pull and finagle a book signing on the 12th floor of.
We'll be on the 4th floor, Crystal.
Oh, we're
going to be in Suite 426 over at 1 O'Connor. So we'll be neighbors.
We're neighbors. And you know who else is in there is Upbring. That's who we're working with for our foster youth.
Wonderful.
So now we got Upbring and CASA and Grit and Gratitude all in the same building. Watch out. That's a blessing.
Yes, indeed.
Your office
Awesome.
in
What is it?
Office. That's where the CASA board used to meet in that point.
Oh,
in the building. That's where the CASA board of directors met for several years when it was a restaurant there.
Oh my goodness. How fun is that? My mama said she used to play bridge there. So I was like, oh, but now it's even more special because it's CASA. It's all blessings. It's all connected, you know. That's in the midst of trauma and chaos. Even as an adult, you know, there's a lot. By the way, you check out my Facebook page. I should drop the link, send it around. I did a 21 days where I shared Dear Little Crystal. And I talked about something hard that happened in my life and then wrote a letter to myself as a small child. And then I read it and talked about that. And for 21 days consistently, I did this challenge. It was very powerful, might I add, very vulnerable and very excellent response. But yeah, so through that process, one of the things that I told my little self is that you are right where you need to be. And even in the midst of abuse and trauma and neglect and just issues, it has not been pretty, let me tell you. In the midst of issues, you are right where you need to be. And I offer that to you in your life and the blessings to your foster youth, that even in the midst of issues, you are right where you need to be. And if you can find some peace in that, and if you can't find peace in that, play the what if game. Wouldn't it be great if you were right where you need to be? Wouldn't it be great if this was somehow going to help you? So those are the games and mind games I play with myself on a daily basis. Is wouldn't it be great if you were right where you need to be? And my heart says amen, and I am. So as I go on walks, mile-long walks every morning, and I say, wouldn't it be great if this was all meant to be? Wouldn't it be great if this was going to happen? Wouldn't it be great? It's literally called the Wouldn't It Be Great If game. So anyways, that's one of my little tips and tricks there.
Wow. We'll all be playing that.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if? And then, yes, and Shannon, I saw you put up the link. It is gritgratitudebook.com. Kathy says, you have inspired me beyond words. I cannot wait to read your book. Thank you. Absolutely, Miss Kathy. What a blessing. You just fill my heart. Thank you so much for that. And Sandy says, you and Tim have the corner. Yes, we have the corner. Tim, I need you by my side when I do my book signing. And Morgan, yes. I think we need to have a moment together when we do this, because again, I'm not supporting any other charities. This is my, anything I can do, I'm throwing it all at the CASA. There's nobody else I want to partner with, and I only want to just pour over your youth. Because again, when I was in foster care, the only single nonprofit that helped me was CASA. And so that, I believe, you know, again, wouldn't it be great if that somehow helped me in my future? And that gave me such clarity over that is the foster youth, or that is the vehicle that I'm going to use to bless foster youth, is through the fostered and through CASA and fostered helping CASA. So Reynolds says, be well, be safe, best of all, bye. Thank you so much, Reynolds. Thank you for joining, Reynolds. Thanks. CASA loves Crystal. Oh, Morgan Miller. She's such a bright light. She sends me the names of the youth and what makes them unique. Like they like gardening, or they just bought their first car, or whatever it is, and then the age. So I get first name, last initial, what makes them unique, and their age. And my husband and I literally, we pray over them every night, and we talk about them like we know them. You know, we're like, oh, little Christian, you know, or this person has a head injury, you know. And so we talk about them. We're like, oh, I bet how would she do it? And she's going to walk the little pony. Oh, we got these last gifts we're holding on to, but she can walk a little pony, and she's got a bubble wand and the lights. And that's the other thing I want to point out about the gifts we give is it's to help self-sufficiency. It's to create critical thinking skills, and it's to let them know they matter, right? And so those are the three essence of what we're doing. So anyways, I love Morgan Mueller and her helping me month by month keep this going. She has been such an angel and a gift. And we were introduced through a mutual colleague. That's how this whole thing got started. And then actually my church, First English Lutheran, adopted CASA for the CASA tree. And then they started getting them Christmas gifts. We started with 3 and then ended up with 6 youths we adopted. Had so much fun. Worked with Morgan to keep it going month after month. So anyways, thank you so much. Mimi and Pop says, thanks beyond words, and all things give thanks. I thank God for you. Oh, and Verge says, thanks for sharing your story. Thank you so much for having me. This has just filled my cup. I guess I'll hand it back to you, Tim.
Well, I want to thank you again, Crystal. This is wonderful. You've given us direction, hope. I think all of the kids we're working with will benefit from your talk today. Thank you.